Hello everyone, I'm home. Welcome back to my channel. And if you're new here, welcome to my channel. Well, today's going to be a crazy random video. It's almost an hour long, and we're going to visit on the porch for a little bit. We're going to go thrifting. We're going to decorate. We're going to an estate sale. There's all kinds of crazy stuff going on in this video as usual. So sit back and enjoy this beautiful fall weather that we're having. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to try to film this looking at the birds. The squirrels got into the bird feed last night, so I don't know how many birds we'll have, but I wanted to jump on here this morning and talk to you about some exciting thrift finds I found this weekend. On Friday and Saturday, I had two different experiences at the Goodwill and thrifting. And I also wanted to talk to you about something that happened to me this morning. And just see what you guys think of it. One of my sons kind of tricked me into listening to a new song by Post Malone. I don't know if you guys know who he is. I didn't know much about him. A friend of mine loves him, and she's always talking about how great he is, and I just never paid any attention to him. He didn't have much allure to me, and I know he sang kind of hip hop and rap, maybe rap. I'm not sure. I'm going to have to dive into him a little bit more. But he did a country album with some country stars, and my sons played me the one song that he did with Dolly Parton, and I really liked it. And I said, "Who's that singing with Dolly?" And they were like, Post Malone, Mom. And I said, "Really?" I said, "Oh, I guess I'm a Post Malone fan then, because the song was really good." And then they played me a song he sang with Hank Williams Jr. and one with Blake Shelton and another guy, and they were all good songs. But the reason I wanted to bring this up this morning is because I judged him, I decided he wasn't anybody I would ever want to listen to. And I told my friend about it, and she said, "Oh, I'm so glad to hear you like him." She said, "He's got a big heart, and his heart's as big as his talent." And she said, "I knew you'd like him." So I'm a Post Malone fan now. I don't know if any of you have heard of him, or maybe you are a fan, but I was kind of ashamed of myself that I judged him before I even listened. And I'm going to go back and listen to some of his other music. I don't know if I can get into the other music or not, but I sure like his country album. And I like a lot of different kinds of music. I listen to country a lot, and I listen to some classical stuff. I like to listen to classical when I'm working on a project like painting or working on miniatures. It just really gets me creative. And I like I like Dean Martin, Engelbert Humperdinck. I like a lot of music. And I don't know, I just kind of surprised myself that I was so funny about Post Malone and how I just thought he wouldn't be that great of a singer. And then I got on YouTube and watched a few interviews of him, and he's very interesting, and I can see that he has a really warm heart. So I don't know if any of you are interested in checking his country music out. If you've never heard him, but you should. He's really good. And then I'm going to go into showing you all the exciting things that happened over the weekend, and why I was going to try to get this video out over the weekend, but I had a weekend where I had to do a lot of work. I had to bring home all this stuff that I'm going to tell you about and clean it and find a place in my house. And I have a rug that I bought. I'll tell you about that. And I don't know. It was just a crazy weekend, so I didn't get the video done. And the birds are chirping and sounding so pretty. I haven't seen one bird on that bird feeder. I think the squirrels might have gotten most of the bird seed last night. It was hanging kind of funky when I got up this morning. So it's very quiet, no traffic on the highway, and I wanted to jump on here and talk to you guys for a minute. I want to thank everybody for your subscribes and likes and comments. It's helping my channel so much. It's grown. And those of you who have already subscribed, I thank you so much. And those of you who haven't, please think about subscribing. You just hit the subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything. And if you don't hit the bell button, you won't get notified if you don't want to be bugged every time a video comes out. But the subscribes really help my my channel grow, and it's growing leaps and bounds, and I'm really excited because I have so many things I want to share with you guys. And once we get into fall and winter, and fall's knocking on our door. I mean, it's cool out here this morning, and I've decorated a little bit for fall, and I'm starting to feel it. I'm going to be able to stay home more and really get in there and do more creative stuff, and I can't wait to show you guys. So if you feel like subscribing, I would love it because it does help my channel so much. I remember when I started, I had like 35 subscribers, and they were all family and friends. And now I have about 1,500, and it's exciting. So I'm going to get off here, and I'm going to, well, this is another part of a video. I'm going to show you some more video. I messed up and didn't hit record when I did the first part of this video, so that's why I'm doing it again. So I hope you guys are all having a lovely day, and this is going to be a really long video, so sit back and enjoy it if you want. And if you don't want to listen to all my rambling about things, just go ahead and skip ahead to the part where I show all my goods I got while I was thrifting this weekend. But I wanted to tell you guys, I wanted to make this video Saturday, maybe even Friday, but Friday and Saturday blended into Sunday. And here's what happened. Friday we went to see our sons, and I went to the Goodwill next to my son's house. And remember the rug that I purchased for their apartment? It was a big 8x10 Karastan rug. I got it at Goodwill. It was $49, and it ended up being absolute perfection. It was clean. Of course, I cleaned it again, but it was nice. And it was a newer rug. It was like in the last 20 years probably. And it was so beautiful. I loved it. And I kind of wanted to keep it for my own living room, but it went with the boys' stuff so well that we went with the boys' apartment. But I told Kevin, I said, this is exactly what I want for under my dining room table, but I want an older one. I want an antique looking rug. And of course they're very expensive. And the rug that I have under my dining room table is always just a $25 rug from Walmart. I change it a lot when it gets dirty or it gets worn. I just put it out in the garage and then get a new one. But I've always wanted one of the real vintage rugs with some worn spots on it and antique looking, but I like the design on the boys' rug. So this is what I've had in my mind for like 10 years. And I'm going through the Goodwill and I see a rolled up rug, and it's about the size that needs to go under my dining room table. And it looks like it's gold and orange and blue and all the old vintage colors, and it looks really vintage. Had a tag on it that looked really old. And I kind of peeked inside it because they had it rolled to where you couldn't see you could only see the back. And it looked good. And it smelled dusty. And I kind of saw dust come out of it. And it looked like it had been rolled up in someone's garage for a long time. And it was $9.99. And I told Kevin, I said, this thing I might roll it out and it might have big holes in it. And it may be stained, it may be horrible, but for $10 I'm buying it and I'm going to take a chance. So I brought it home and I hung it over a line and I beat it with a board to get all the dust out of it. That thing was gorgeous. It didn't have any stains on it. It was beautiful in color. The size was perfect. It had fringe on the end of it. And it was all the colors of my house. It couldn't have been more perfect. The only thing was it had a musty smell to it. So I didn't know what it was made of, guys. I didn't know. I didn't care. I just wanted to clean it. So I sprayed it down with my Tide with Downy. I thought for a $10 rug, if I ruin this thing, it doesn't matter. And I let it set outside really wet with that on it for a long time. And then I hosed it off with the garden hose, and it was hanging over the line and it was dripping and all the dirt was coming out of it. And I hosed it off several times, let it dry, hosed it off again, sprayed it with Febreze. And it wasn't until I laid it on my porch flat and kind of damp that I noticed the tag said it was wool, and you're not supposed to wash wool. But it was laying flat on my porch and it looked fine. And I thought, well, maybe it'll shrink a little bit, or maybe it'll fall apart. I don't know. It was made so well, I didn't think it was going to fall apart. So it laid on my porch until most of the moisture came out of it. And then I laid a tarp in the grass, and I laid it on the grass, let it sit in the sun for 2 or 3 hours, and then I turned it over so the backside would get nice and dry. And yesterday I swept it, and then I put some baking soda on it, and then I did more Febreze, and then I swept it again, and I smelled it, and I thought, it's clean. And it's so beautiful. I'm going to show it to you in a little bit. And I pulled it into the dining room, had to move china cabinet, take everything out of it, had to move my table and chairs, and mop and clean, and I spent the whole day doing this yesterday. But I put that under my table, and it's beautiful, and I absolutely love it. And there you go. I've manifested that for years, and voila, one day there it was. So it's very much like my boys' rug that they have in their apartment, only it's more antique looking, and I believe it is antique. I don't know if it's 100 years old, but I think it's pretty darn old. And and the tag on it said it was made in Belgium, and by a company called Atlanta. So I looked it up, and I found some similar ones, and they were selling for $500 to $1,000. And I couldn't find my exact rug, and I couldn't find anything even near the pattern, but it's nice, and I'll show it to you. And it's I've seen, like I was talking about some of those designers that I watch on Homeworthy and different shows. Some of them have the old rugs that are absolutely worn. They're just threadbare and worn in spots and have holes in them. They don't care. They love them. And I thought, well, if this one falls apart, it falls apart. But it did not. And it's beautiful. And it smells good. So that's what I found when I was at my boys' on Friday. So Saturday morning we get up, and it had rained so much the grass was just soggy, and we couldn't mow. So, but it was sunny out, and he said, I need to go to Planet Fitness. My husband was sick all last week, and he hadn't felt like going all last week. So he said, I feel like going to Planet Fitness. So I haven't seen any birds at that bird feeder. Have you guys seen any? I'm not really watching. I know this is a boring picture to look at while I talk, but it's where I like to sit in the morning. Anyway, he said, let's go. So we went to Planet Fitness. And those of you who followed me for a while may have seen the video called Estate Sale Score. It was one of my first videos last year. And it was where I found the $10 china cabinet and all the little baby dresses for a quarter and a lot of other stuff. You can go back and watch that video, but I'll insert some pictures of it later. There's these people that they buy out estates and buy big lots of things, and they have a sale every now and then, and it's a yard sale, and they call it an estate sale because they get the stuff from estates, but they set it up like a yard sale. And when you turn the corner where they live, it's just like crazy fun for me because I see all this stuff. And she's really nice, and her and I have texted back and forth about different items, and she's always letting me know when they're going to have a sale. Well, she didn't let me know this time, but as we're going to Planet Fitness, we came up that road and we saw a garage sale sign, but I thought surely it's not her because she lets me know if she's having one. But she's busy, and she probably didn't think to call me. Well, I'll be honest with you. My husband and I were bickering before we got to that sale. Not fighting, but just like where to turn and which is the quickest way to get to Planet Fitness today. And I'm glad he took that road because as we pulled up to their stop sign, there it was, just a whole yard full of stuff. And I was like excited, like you couldn't believe. And so he didn't even ask me. He just pulled over into their drive, and I started to get out, and he goes, oh, you're happy now. And I said, you know what? So he gets out too. He likes it. And we go walking, and the first thing I see is this beautiful table, and I'm going to show you all the pictures later. But I saw this beautiful table, and nothing had a price on it. Well, some things had prices on them, but they were from an antique store. They had bought out an antique store, I believe. I didn't ask her, but she was so busy. But this table was just beautiful, and I'm standing by it looking it over, and the guy that always has the sale, I hollered up on the porch to him and I said, how much for this table? And he said, make an offer. He said, I'm taking offers today. And I said, oh, I don't like to do that. I will not make an offer. I said, I don't like to do that. And he said, he didn't say anything, so I walked away from the table, and as I walked away from it, he said, I'll take $5 for it. Oh, guys, it's beautiful. So Kevin just picked it up and threw it in our truck. So I'm walking around, they had tables and tables full of glass and lamps and books, and they had about 10 boxes of books, and he said, all the books are free and everything else is cheap, load up. So of course, you know, I'm going to. And I picked up some glass items, and I had a pretty good box myself. And I get over to this trailer, and there's these antique mirrors propped up against the trailer, 3 antique mirrors, and they were gorgeous, and they were big, and they were heavy. I tried to lift one of them to see if it had a price on it, and they were too heavy. Well, I saw the tags. One was $48, one was $38, and one was $20, but the third one was rough. The other 2 were perfect. And I'm looking at them, and some kid comes walking past me. He must be their family or something, and he said, those mirrors are $5 a piece. I said, okay, I'll take these 2. So I pulled them down towards me, like, see if I could lift them, and they were so heavy, I couldn't hardly lift them. They were heavy. And here comes this little girl, and I say little girl because she was small, but she was probably 18 or 19 years old. And she goes, here, I'll get those and load them on your truck. And before I could even say anything, she loaded them up underneath both of her arms and started towards my truck. And I'm going, oh no, and I'm kind of chasing her, trying to stop her. But she had those mirrors under her arm and was lifting them with all her might. And they have these real deep ditches as you go to the road, like it's like a water drain ditch, and it's real deep, and you have to walk across it to get to your vehicle. And I said, no, let me help you. And I'm chasing her, and she's like, I got it. She said, I helped load these out to the yard. I can load them in your truck. And Kevin's looking across the yard at her like, my goodness, what's she doing? And he's walking towards her, like trying to help her. But before we could get to her, she had gone down in that little ditch with those 2 heavy mirrors. She did lay one in the ditch, and she put one in my truck, and I got to the truck and opened the tailgate for her because she lifted it right over the side of the truck. And I said, honey, stop. I said, please. I said, we'll get these. And before I knew it, she had both mirrors in the truck, and she goes, there you go. She said, what else do you want? I'll load it for you. And I kept telling her thank you, and I said, oh my gosh, you're too good. So I said, no, you're not loading anything else for us. So we're kind of laughing about it, and Kevin gives me a look like, can you believe this? They're so nice, these people are, and they just want to help you so much. So, and we feel like we know them, and I don't even know their names, but we talk to them all the time. So I keep looking, and I ended up with a box, a pretty good sized box full of all kinds of stuff, which I'll show you later. So the little girl's standing there, and there's this, she's kind of following me around, and there's this big Lane cedar chest, and it had a scarf on top of it and a bunch of stuff on top of it. And she says, you like that? You want that? Do you want that chest? And I said, oh, I'm kind of looking at it. She said, $5. That's all it is $5. And I said, well, yeah, I'll take it for $5, but oh, I'll get all this stuff off the top. So she takes all the stuff off the top, and the scarf that was on it was beautiful, and it looked like the scarf that's on my coffee table, only it was done in gray and pink flowers, and it had birds on it, and I'll show it to you. And she said, I said, wait a minute, I think I want that scarf. And she said, oh, it's a quarter. She said, it's got a big hole in it. And so I threw it in my box, wadded it up and threw it in my box. And we get all the stuff off of this chest, and the chest is pretty nice for $5. It had a little bit of damage, but nothing I couldn't fix. Some of it I didn't even mind. I liked it, the patina. So next thing I know, while I'm trying to stuff things in my box and put this other stuff on another table, she picks that cedar chest up and has it under her arm and starts lugging it across the yard. And again, I'm screaming at her to stop. And I'm like, no. And some man that was there, he said, oh, honey, let me help you with that. She goes, I got it. And she was so sweet. She took that thing to my truck, and while holding that cedar chest up against her, she lifted the tailgate down and slid that into my truck. Here I am running across the yard trying to catch her. She was like Hercules. She was amazing. And I kept telling her, I still can't believe she did all that. I kept saying, honey, stop, please. Don't do that again. So, anyway, I go back to my stuff feeling stupid because she's carrying all my heavy stuff. And she comes over to where my box is and she starts wrapping everything in paper. And I said, honey, you don't have to do that. I keep paper in my truck and I've got a big tote. I'll do that. Just give me my box. And she goes, oh no. She said, I'll wrap all this up for you. So she's wrapping everything. And I said, now wait. I said, the girl that runs the show, I said, she didn't add this stuff up. So she hollers at the girl and she says, she's getting all this stuff in the box and she's got 4 items. Yeah, I had the table, the cedar chest, and 2 mirrors in my truck at $5 a piece. So that's 20. And she said she's got $20 in her truck and she wants this box. And she had most of the stuff wrapped up so the woman couldn't even tell what was in the box. And the woman said, she's good, $20 for all of it. And I said, well, no, now I want to pay for this stuff in the box. She said, no. She said, you come here all the time. You send people here. She said, you bought a lot from me. I want this stuff gone. It's going to rain this afternoon. Everything's going to get wet. She said, you got to take more than that. She said, load up. And I'm telling you what, these people are so nice. So the girl got my box all loaded up, and I picked the box up real quick so she couldn't carry it to the truck. And then I saw a couple more things. They kept bringing things out of the garage. She said, hey, come back in about an hour. I'll have a bunch more stuff brought out. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't need all this stuff. But that morning, one of my friends had contacted me and she said, hey, I know of a flea market we can set up at in September. And do you want to go? And I had said no, but then I thought, well, I could take some of this stuff to that because I didn't need all this stuff, but I had to save it because it was great stuff. So I went to the truck with that box and I started looking again because I hadn't looked at the books yet and I wanted some books and they were free. Oh my gosh. Listen to that dude. He's revving up his engine there. Anyway, I think he's got car trouble. Anyway, you guys have probably already skipped to the part about the thrift stuff and aren't even listening to me. But where was I at? Okay, so I get all my stuff loaded up and I'm looking at more stuff, thinking about the flea market, and I did find some cool books and I got some books, and then I found a couple more items and the little girl said, just take them, and I'm like, no. So I handed her, I think $5 or $6 for this little bit of stuff I got, and I said, here honey, you take this and keep it for yourself because you loaded all that stuff for me. And she's like, nope, it all goes into the same pot. And I said, well, can I give you something? And she said, nope. She said, just come back and see us sometime. I'm telling you, you just get such a warm feeling from these people. They are so nice, and it's hard to believe that there are that great of people in the world anymore because some people are just so bad, but they are so great. And so I said, well, we're going to go to Planet Fitness and get some gas, and we may be back. Well, I didn't go back because the back seat of my car already had stuff in it from Friday night, or the back seat of our truck, and then this big box that I had, and then all that stuff in the back. So we go to Planet Fitness. I drop him off because I'm tired from all my thrifting. I didn't want to walk at Planet Fitness. So I went to the grocery store to get some cinnamon because I was getting low on that. And I got back in the truck, and I hadn't been sitting in the truck for 1 minute, and the clouds opened up on this beautiful sunny day, and it busted out the biggest rainstorm. And all I could think of was my stuff in the back, my $5 treasures, getting all wet, and those poor people at that yard sale, all their stuff was getting wet. So I drove over by the yard sale, and they had hurried up and put a bunch of tarps over everything, and went back and got my husband, and we came home. Well, I immediately wanted to start cleaning all my stuff, so I did get all the things out of the box and cleaned them, but the stuff in the back of the truck was wet, so I dried them off with old towels, and they were fine, and got a couple of pieces. I got the mirrors and the table out, but the chest, or the Lane cedar chest, I left in the truck, put it on the tailgate, and cleaned it real good. And then the next day I oiled it up and it looks good. It's got a few repairs I need to make, but nothing major. And I got everything pretty well cleaned up. And I called a couple of my girlfriends that love that kind of stuff and told them to go over there because they'd said, hey, I want to go to the estate sale you go to. So all that stuff got done yesterday. The cleaning and the dragging in the house and trying to decide what was going to the flea market and what was going to stay with me. And unfortunately, most of it's going to stay with me because I loved it all. So, so there you go. Post Malone, he's worth listening to. And I thrifted all weekend. And this stuff was also super cheap, guys. I couldn't believe it. And I also found something for one of my viewers, or one of my followers. I found a little plate, and I'm going to be mailing that off to him, and he's going to like it, I think. And I don't know, it was just a great weekend. So I came home, did all that yesterday, and today we have to mow. We absolutely have to. So I'm going to go ahead and try to piece together a video about all this stuff I found and see if you guys enjoy it as much as I did. I was high as a kite. I told my husband I don't have to smoke marijuana. I get high doing my thrifting stuff. And my rug turned out great, and I'll show you all that. And I'm looking across the road at the cabin. You can't hardly see it, but I can see it from here. It's got a red roof. And it's just a beautiful day. It's cool. I'm going to try to get the mowing done while it's cool. And here comes somebody else. They drive like maniacs on our road. I always call this NASCAR strip because they drive fast. There's a really sharp curve. Watch, he's going around it right now. It's a really sharp curve. There's always fender benders there. That used to be a stop sign and you turned. When I was a little girl, we used to come visit my family here. We lived in another town. And when we came here, it was you stopped and you turned. Well, they ended up buying some land and making a curve out of it, and I think they need the stop sign back. We've had people come up in our barn lot and just run through our grass, and they run through our yard, and it's crazy. When you see two people meet on that curve, it's very scary, and we've seen a lot of wrecks there. So the rug, this is what the rug looks like that I purchased at Goodwill for $9.99. This is the tag that shows it was made in Belgium, and I didn't see the part that said it was wool, so I cleaned it. It cleaned up really nice. I'm so happy with this rug. It's really old, guys. The more I look at it, the older I think it is. It's got a beautiful pattern. There was one little tiny spot that was kind of dark, and I got it out, and I put it under my table, and I love it. It's just the right size, keeps the floor from getting all scratched up, even though I have little felt pads underneath my chairs. I just like having a rug under the table. I just think it looks nicer. And this was the estate sale that I went to last year that I showed you the little vintage baby dresses I got for $1. And I got this big pitcher and bowl for $2. My husband came to me and said, you want this? And I said, no. And he said, it's $2. I said, yeah, I want it. So this was a sale, and so this is where the sale is, and this is what we pulled up to the other day. And there was a lot more tables than this, but I was so excited I forgot to take pictures of all of it. But I did go back and take these pictures, I think, on the second trip there. I've been to it twice. And of course they had several sets of punch bowls with all the cups, which nobody wants. And I thought this coffee table was gorgeous, but I don't need a coffee table. But it's one from like maybe the 30s or 40s, solid wood. Now this is the table that I walked up on and saw. It looks red here, but it's really a dark brown. It just shows up that way in the sunlight. I'm going to sand it a little bit and restain it, but it's just fine. And this is the cedar chest. It's got some beautiful things on it, and it's got the original key. And it smelled really good inside. It didn't have a musty smell at all. This was just out of the truck. I haven't even cleaned it up yet. And you can open it up and, oh, there's these beautiful designs on the front that were kind of carved into it. And this was a mailing card that you were supposed to fill out some information and send into the company for a warranty, but someone had not done that. And they had this little thing in the middle that said it tested for aroma and make sure it's a tight cabinet. And that's the little card they were supposed to send in. You can tell it's really old. And these are the feet on the front. They're perfectly round. But the back two legs, I don't know what happened. It looks like somebody took a saw and just sawed off this curve of the feet. And luckily, inside the chest were about 6 or 7 of these little slices that they sliced off of those feet. I have no idea what that's about. And as you can see here, they can be reattached. They're going to have to be glued and small nails put in them, but I'll fix that. And this is the mirror, the big tall mirror. It's about 4 feet tall, and it's beveled glass. And it was just heavy and beautiful. And I don't know if you can see the beveled part there, but it's really a nice, good old oak mirror. And this is the other one that was, it's all carved real pretty, and it's huge, heavy. And it actually goes with a table that I found, or a little cabinet that I found there on my second trip there. And I paired them together. This was a pretty ironstone pitcher. All of this stuff was in my box that I put it in my wooden bowl. In the box that the girl, was wrapping all my stuff up in. This is an old antique basket. I don't need baskets, but I thought I'd take it to the flea market. It's got the wooden bottom, and it's very, very old. And this was a cute little creamer or pitcher. It was only 2 inches tall, and this is what it looks like sitting in my kitchen window. I'm a sucker for those. And then I found this pretty amber-colored oil lamp, and it didn't have a top. It said without the top, but I looked around and I found one. This is my little desk in my house that has all my miniature oil lamps, and I squeezed everything around and made a space for the new one, and I think I'm going to leave it there, but I put it in my kitchen window too. But if you see that green one there in the middle, this little amber one is the same pattern. And I always take that little brooch at the bottom, was my grandma's. I always prop those up against my oil lamps so I can see them all the time, because both of my grandmas had a vintage brooch like that. But this is the little amber oil lamp in my kitchen window, and it looks pretty for fall. And I found a chimney for it. I actually found a chimney at the sale, but it was too big. Then I found this early American pressed glass piece. It was beautiful. It went into my box that I basically got for free because they wouldn't charge me for it. And I did make that girl take the money. I guess she put it into the pot. Now, I've seen this in Victoria magazine and a lot of magazines for 30 years, and I've always loved it. And I see it in antique stores, and I can't touch it. They're expensive. And it was there, and it was filled with some kind of white powder. And of course, we made jokes about that. And it ended up being baby powder. I dumped that out, cleaned it out, and it turned out beautiful. And I've manifested that in the magazines. I touch it every time I see it because I love it so much. And I got it for free. She threw it in the box. And I just love it. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but I love it. And it goes with all my stuff. And then they had an Independence Hall picture plate, like I have about 7 of those plates. And then there was another plate that had a blue and white pattern. These had $5 tags on them, and she just threw them in my box, so I got them for free. I thought this was pretty. It's like a little gravy boat, but it's miniature. It's like 4.5 inches wide. And then my husband picked this up. He's so silly. He likes ice cream. He got this big Steak and Shake milkshake glass, and it's huge, and it's really pretty. It's an older one. And then I found this picture. I think it's a drawing. It's not a real picture. And a beautiful old oak frame that I thought was really pretty. And I polished it all up, and I found this little green school bell, green-handled school bell, and it's so sweet. I have an old school desk I can put it on. This little bookend, I just picked it up. There was only one, but I'll use one bookend. I don't mind that at all. I prop things up against the wall of my cabinets and then use one bookend. These books, I bought several books. I like books, and I set them around for decor, and sometimes I read them. And there were some hymnals, which I love hymnals. I used to want to take them from church, and my grandma would smack my hand and say, "You can't take that." And then Tasha Tudor's Christmas Carol book. I love anything Tasha Tudor, and these are beautiful. It has beautiful pictures that she had painted, and just beautiful, beautiful illustrations throughout the whole book. And I thought, man, I would like to be able to frame some of these. And I got to looking, and they had another one that had been in a box that got wet, and it was all wet and ruined, so I can cut that one up. Found some Christmas treasury books. I love Christmas books. I love to set them around at Christmas time. I love to look at them. I like to read them. This one had some beautiful pictures in it of an old dollhouse and some Santa Clauses that, you know how I have my Santa Claus collection. This reminded me of it. I kind of flipped through it and threw that in my box. I thought this was pretty and looked like some of my dishes that I have in my cabinet. This is where I get my inspiration, guys, from pictures. They had some vintage cards that had never been used, and I picked up a few of those. And this is the beautiful scarf I was telling you about that the girl sold me for 25 cents. And she said it had a big hole in it. Well, this is before I washed it. Now, it's beautiful since I've washed it. But I hand washed it in the sink, and I hung it on my clothesline. But I'm telling you guys, I found one little tiny hole, which I'm going to put this on my coffee table this spring, and you won't even see that hole with all the stuff I've got to sit on top of it. But it's a little tiny hole, and it doesn't affect the scarf at all. It's beautiful. And then I found these 2 candles still wrapped up in the plastic. They're vintage, and they match so well, and I thought maybe this spring I'll go for pink and use my candles on this beautiful coffee table scarf. And then this is all the stuff that I brought home. This was before I cleaned anything. I just set it on the tailgate with the chest and just took a picture of everything for you guys. And I'm looking through all my magazines and seeing a lot of these items in the magazines, so I may have manifested some of them. I just got the vibe of what I like to collect, and looking through the magazines, I see the things and think, well, there you go. That's what I liked. And I was in Goodwill the other day, and I saw this set of frames I thought was so pretty. I'm losing my mind, guys. I didn't buy this cake stand. You know I love red, and I love cake stands, but I don't need any more cake stands. I have officially run out of room. This was a red pie plate, which I have a pie plate collection, and I love unique ones, but I passed on it as well because I have too many. I'll never make that many pies in one day that I can use all my pie plates. And this is an old diner cup. They only had one, but I wanted to show it to you guys because diner dishes really excite me. These were gorgeous, but they only had 3, and they had them marked $6.99. Now, I've showed you before that I collect moss rose, and I saw these cups, and I thought, man, if I didn't have moss rose cups, there was a bunch of them. And I thought this was a pretty chair. It's kind of a French country style chair, and I think it was only $9.99 or $19. Another beautiful trivet with the fruit and the leaves. You know I love my fruit dishes, and this was a little cup. They only had one. I didn't get it. I usually set them in my window and throw my rings in them. And then this was at the Salvation Army like 2 months ago, and I passed on it, and they still had it the other day, so I got it. And I came up with something that this inspired me to do, and I'm going to show you guys in a video coming up soon. I can't wait to do it. I've already done part of it. But look at those beautiful fruit. It's like apples. And then we were talking about the beach decorations. Wouldn't these things be pretty in a beach house? Since I started talking about beach house stuff, now that's all I see. And I'm just telling you, look at this. I thought this would be beautiful in a beach house with just clear wine glasses. It would be so pretty. But I was looking a little closer, and there's a little flash painting there. You can see a little mark right in the middle. But I kept seeing things that would look pretty as accessories in a beach house if you were going to do one. So when you get your mind on a theme, it kind of gets stuck in you. This was pretty. It would be pretty for a Kleenex holder in a beach house. And then when I did my boys' apartment, these were the kind of the colors I went for. And I found this set of 6 dinner plates. And I thought, boy, those would be nice in a man's apartment. And these were so pretty. I can't stop seeing things that would go in the boys' apartment. But they have all kinds of dishes and they don't need them. But I thought these were really pretty for a masculine apartment or house. And they had a lot of masculine looking coffee cups and mugs, and they sometimes only have 1 or 2, but today they had sets, and they were really nice looking sets, and I thought all this would go with those plates. So when you get an idea in your head, you can find it. There's some chargers, which I don't think my boys would ever use chargers, but they're pretty. And I thought these were vintage, but the more I looked at the back of them, they look like newer ones. But they're obviously made to look vintage. There were several patterns there that day. I don't know if a store donated a bunch of them or what, but the stamps on the back look like they were new, like they could have been from Kohl's or Target or someplace. But I thought they looked pretty vintage. They look like something my Aunt Kathy would have loved having in her olive green kitchen, or avocado green, I think is what they used to call it. And then I saw this humongous vase that would have been pretty in my boys' apartment, but they're done with the vases. They said, Mom, there's enough vases. But this thing was big and it was real heavy and it would have been pretty. And so would this vase, but like I said, they're kind of over the vases, but Mom's got that in her head. As always, you can find a lot of canning jars in the Goodwills and the thrift stores. And I ended up buying this one. It's called Presto. I don't think it's real old, but it's one I didn't have. And it was the dirtiest one they had, and I got it. And for Aunt Kathy's kitchen, I'm showing you this deviled egg plate with the salt and pepper shaker holders in the middle that she used to have. And then, of course, you can always find votives at all the thrift stores if you want a little touch of fall. I found this scarf. Actually, I think it was a pillowcase. I washed it up and put it on my dining room table just to show you that you can just take a piece of fabric and add some dimension. This is at nighttime with the soft glow of my lights in the kitchen and showing off my pretty rug. There's my bowl I tucked into my china cabinet, and I just love it. I just love it. It's a big bowl too. And in front of it, you can see some of my little children's pictures that I picked up here and there at thrift stores. They're about 2.5 inches tall. And I have several of them. Sometimes I hang them on my little Christmas tree in the kitchen, dining room area. Sometimes I just set them around. I just love to look at them. Nobody wants them. I get them for $1. A lot of the things I buy, no one wants. And then, as I've told you before, I'm a tucker, and this is a pretty postcard that I set out in the fall. I keep a drawer in my kitchen where I keep all my postcards. And there's some flowers that I dried out of my garden this year, and I tuck those in bowls, in my bowl with all my Scrabble letters, and I've got a lot. And, of course, the sunflowers are doing so well this year. I'm just loving them. And I'm getting ready to go back to that estate sale, guys. I went back. I can't believe I went back, but I did. And when I got there, she said everything was 50 cents except furniture, and it was cheap. So I'm going to show you guys some of the stuff I found. I found this Waterford crystal vase for 50 cents, guys. And I looked it up when I got home, and it's pretty pricey. It's real heavy. It's the first thing I saw at her thrift store, or her estate sale, that I picked up. She said, everything's 50 cents. Just throw it all in a box, 50 cents, and I'll probably make you a better deal than that. I brought it home and set it in my kitchen. I went to the grocery store right away and got some pretty roses to put in it. I set it in different places. This is a bouquet that I moved from my bar cart over to the end table to set the roses on my bar cart. I moved them all over the house until I finally settled on my nightstand in my bedroom so I could smell them all the time, and they're beautiful. And the moss rose cups that I saw at that store reminded me that I have so much of this, and I think I've told you in another video that I collect moss rose because my grandma gave me her set. And then whenever I see it, nobody wants it, it's cheap, I pick up pieces. And I would like to say I keep it all in one spot, but I'll open a cabinet or a drawer and I'll find a few pieces I found here and there. And I need to be manifesting that mansion so I can get all my dishes in one place. This is a broken handled teapot that I found, and I use it for paintbrushes. This is a little doodad I bought that's like a toothbrush holder. And I just pick them up because no one wants them. And this is I bought 4 of these. They're little trays that you use for nuts and mints at parties. I don't think I'll ever have a big enough party to use all these dishes. This is the meat platter. I got several salt and pepper shakers. I have used these dishes a couple of times, usually around Valentine's Day. I'll make Kevin and I a little table with these. He doesn't care one bit, but a couple of my girlfriends will come over and have lunch, and I've used them for that. This is a tea set that I have. It's a darling little set, and you can see it juxtaposed against my bigger set. And it looks good with my cranberry glass. And since I had it out showing you guys pictures, I decided to show you this that I got at that estate sale for 50 cents. It was a covered bowl. I'd never seen one and had 3 feet. I didn't need it, but they had 2 of them, and I'm kind of kicking myself for 50 cents. I didn't buy both of them, but I don't know what I'm going to do with this one. Probably set it on my nightstand or something and put my rings in it or something, but I just have a heart for this moss rose because my grandma gave it to me. I've found many, many more pieces. I probably got 200 pieces of it. Now, I made chocolate chip cookies the other day for my son because he's coming home, and if you guys make chocolate chip cookies and it calls for butter, brown your butter first. Like, put it on the stove and brown it and add that to the cookies instead of just the butter. I've been seeing a lot of recipes for brown butter cookies, and they're really, really good. And I just press mine into a plate or a pie pan or a cake plate, and I cut them into bars because it's so much easier than making a bunch of cookies. Now, this is the old moss rose, the original vintage antique moss rose, and mine's just the vintage knockoff that's from the 30s, 40s, and 50s, but I like mine better. I think mine's more vivid and pretty, and I just got one of the plates out and decided to set it there for like a spoon rest and use it. Well, enough about moss rose. Here we go. I found this at I keep saying thrift sale, estate sale. It's a beautiful silver ladle with a little hook on the back that goes into a punch bowl. It's just beautiful. I found this brown transferware plate, Johnson Brothers, England, and it has the old Capitol building on it, and I looked it up and did a little research about the Capitol building, and it looked like this originally with 3 domes, and now it only has the one big dome. But I like to learn things about things like that. And then I found at the 50-cent estate sale this beautiful, delicate little bowl. It's probably about 10 or 12 inches long. It's kind of like a relish tray. It's got beautiful little orange and gold pattern on it. And it's got the pretty little filigree at the edge with the gold. Doesn't look like it's been used a lot. It just speaks to my heart. It's so beautiful and delicate. They don't make dishes like this anymore, guys, so I have to save them. And for 50 cents. And then she said, oh, get that covered dish over there. You got to have that for 50 cents. And I said, yeah, I saw this the other day when I was there, but I didn't ask about it because it had a $65 tag on it. She said, well, it's 50 cents. You can't pass that up. So, of course, I brought it home, and it's perfect, guys. It doesn't have anything wrong with it. It's got the most beautiful details, pretty little gold trims, and these are the little handles on the side, and I have no idea what I'm going to do with it. It may end up in my flea market. This is a beautiful Fostoria pitcher that was 50 cents. I didn't need it, but I guess I'm a saver of old things. It's beautiful. It didn't have anything wrong with it. And then I found this underneath the table as I was picking up my box. It's like a 13-inch tall Victorian pitcher, and it's gorgeous. It's got some cut work at the bottom, and I don't know, guys. I don't know what do I do with this? Just put flowers in it? I don't know. I'm saving it. Then on my second trip there, she said, hey, that cabinet's $100. I'll take $10 for it. She said it's marked 100. So I took it. I think it's going to the flea market, but I took it in and put it in my hallway, and I put that other mirror above it, the antique mirror that matches it's the same color tone. And the reason it's hung so high is because I'm using the original screws that are in the wall for the other mirror I had up. But I think all that's going to the flea market. And you guys have all seen these hen on a nest glass dishes. Well, I was watching a video one day. These are highly collectible, and a lot of my customers like them, and I pick them up for them when I see them. But I was watching a video the other day of she's not a friend of mine. I talked to her on YouTube a few times, but she's got a cooking show, and I noticed on the back of her stove she had one of these, and she would open it up and get her butter out of it. And this is the lady's estate sale, and I'm trying to get a picture of her porch, if you can see it up there. she has all kinds of stuff on her porch, just tons of stuff that she's had for years on her porch. And as I step up on her porch to pay her for my items, this little hen on a nest was sitting on one of the steps. It was dirty, it was full of water, and I was looking at it, telling her I'd never seen one before. And she said, "Here." And she dumped all the water out of it and shoved it in my box. And I said, "Oh my gosh, I'll pay you for that." And she said, "Nope, nope." She said, "I want all this stuff off my porch. He keeps piling more stuff on my porch and I want it out of here." So I brought it home and cleaned it up, and I've never seen one before. And I decided I was going to put my butter in it. So I got a piece of wax. I cleaned it really super good, and I got a piece of wax paper and put it in the bottom of it. It almost looks like it's made in like a ceramics class maybe. If you guys have ever seen one, let me know. And I put a stick of butter in it and set it next to my stove. And I had planned on finding one of the glass ones and doing that. And when I saw this one, I thought, well, that's just all my colors and right up my alley. And once I got it all cleaned up, it was so pretty, and I've never seen one before. So let me know if you guys have ever seen one.
Sunflower, and there's gunshots going off. That never happens here. I don't know what that's all about. Oh Lord. Anyway, look, it's 10 feet tall, and there's like 6 blooms at the top, maybe 7. It's just beautiful. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 more blooms that I can see. I didn't know sunflower stalks did that. This is just one sunflower stalk. I've always had them just come up and have one sunflower on top. I didn't know that they branched out. Look at all these blooms on it. I can't wait to see what it's going to look like having sunflowers all the way up the stalk. And then right next to it, there's one that's about 7 feet tall. It's getting ready to bloom. And then the one over there on my bell pole, that's my clothesline's hanging pretty low. It's got about 5 blooms on it. Guys, I can't believe how beautiful this is. And then I'm learning something about sunflowers. I didn't know they did this. So I just thought I'd share that with you. And there's another bloom right there. And another bloom right here. And a little tiny bloom right here. And one right here. I think there's about 10 more. And there's one. I didn't know they did that. There's 2 blooms up there getting ready to open up. So I'll have lots of sunflower seeds for you guys if you want them. So I just wanted to share that with you. Look how happy these sunflowers are. They're just enjoying the breeze and the cool air and the semis going down the highway. We have plenty of those. I'm hearing them because I'm filming all this. I don't normally pay attention to them, but they're loud. But aren't they pretty? And they're so happy. Oh, they make me happy.
So once again, I want to thank you all so much from the bottom of my heart for all your subscribes and likes and comments. I enjoy it so much. Please like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. And I love you guys all so much.